Hi, this is Princess with blog number 8 and Freedom and Truth. The truth shall set you free. Well, it's Monday, January 16th. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Let's see. I want to do today on the MLK birthday, holiday, remembrance, and I just came back today. Well, I didn't just come back, but today I went to the monument for the first time in DC, and just really thinking about being in the setting and reading all the quotes, and also my church had a program yesterday, and just having all of that brought to life. I just wanted to spend some time on that today for my video blog. And this video blog is going to be the truth about leadership. But first, let me talk about the monument, because if you keep up with the news and when it was being built and all this stuff, a lot of criticisms and opinions and comments went towards the monument, and as far as where it was at and how it was built and the quotes that were chosen and the correctness and accurateness of the quotes, and his eyes and all these little things. So I'm not going to add to that. I'm not going to add to the criticisms. I enjoyed the monument. I went at night. I think it's beautiful. It was moving. There were wreaths there, probably because it was, I don't know, I guess because it's his birthday, but maybe there are wreaths there all the time. But, just it being his birthday and seeing the wreaths, and, I thought it was moving. But my one thing about the monument is that he is not wearing his wedding ring. Yeah. And I think it's pretty obvious to me. His hands are folded, but, right, left hand, ring finger, no ring. And I have a problem with that because I feel like, and this is going to tie into the truth about leadership, but I feel like Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Was, without a doubt, an incredible man, an incredible leader, just, a strength, beyond, anything I can imagine to have, to lead such an incredible movement, and, just listen to the call of doing that. But I think that, this man was also a husband, unless there's some divorce papers I don't know about. You heard all the rumors about stuff, with anybody's, personal relationship, especially when they become famous. All stuff comes out after the fact. But either way, even if true, not true, whatever, the man was still married. He was still a husband. He was still a father. And I feel like he should have on a wedding band in this monument. And I don't know whose decision is that, or why it's not included, or whatever. Maybe I'll, try to look and do some research into that. But I don't know, this kind of bothers me. Because to lead into what this is about, the truth about leadership, becoming a leader is such a sacrifice, in and of itself. I think back on the times where I was a leader, and there was a period in my life where I was a big leader. I was either titled leader over a whole bunch of stuff, or I was doing a whole bunch of projects, or whatever. There's been times in my life where I've been a leader, and I've been that person, and kind of in the realm of important roles, making decisions, of seeing that things got done, of implementing, of motivating, of doing all those things. And it's such a sacrifice, because that's who you become, and all these other things that you are take a second seat, they become secondary. And that, you look at, great leaders, worldwide, political, humanitarians, and all this stuff, the sacrifices, they must have made for their leadership roles. and I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's asking a whole lot. You know, like, I guess, and as I start, I start classes tomorrow night, and even in this space, I decided to do school full time because I wanted to, explore more roles, become more involved, become more of a leader, I guess, in certain areas, and really just open myself up to new opportunities and all that stuff. And I think about that, well, at some point, I'm always being asked to do that role, to lead something, to be over something. And I think about that, and I do that type of stuff with a lot of hesitation. And I feel like that's the truth for me about leadership. I feel like it's very hard to be a leader and to be everything else you are, And people who do that and do that well, I commend them. And I want to learn from them because, that's very difficult, especially when you're fighting against, or not say it's a fight, but when you're, having to combat against perceptions and people trying to perceive you only in that role, and, how to balance that out it's just something that I'm really trying to take note of and recognize. And I think seeing that tonight really reminded me, yeah, this man was a husband. How can you not have his wedding ring there? This is some important stuff, right? So I don't know, I feel like that's the truth about leadership. And I don't say that in a positive or negative way or whatever. And definitely if you're called, and people who have been called to be leaders, you do it, and you do it humbly, and you do what you have to do because that's your call or whatever. But I feel like those of us who are following or are looking on or are motivating or doing whatever, we should be the ones, I think, to be more careful about, pigeonholing our leaders and only seeing them in one way and putting these perceptions onto them and all of this stuff and creating them as one thing, because we're all multifaceted people. So maybe it's also on us to not do that as well. So that's it today. Happy birthday, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Phenomenal leader, phenomenal black man, father, husband, reverend, friend, confidant, I'm sure all the things that he was. And also another note on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and leadership, he was a chain smoker. I learned this in Memphis on the tour of the Lorraine Hotel. He was a chain smoker, and when he was shot, he was in the hotel, in the Lorraine Hotel, with his aides and assistants and all this stuff, and he was on the balcony. He was actually smoking, and when he's always been very careful to not be photographed smoking because he wanted to set a good example. And so I don't even know if there are any, but the guy was just you won't see any photographs of him smoking. He was just very careful about that. But when he was shot, he was smoking, and he took the cigarette and balled it in his hand so that it wouldn't be photographed. Just out of the nature of him not wanting people to know, not wanting kids or whatever to see him smoking. Just out of that second nature, took a cigarette and balled it up in his hand, and that's how he was found or whatever. So I just thought that was interesting. A little nugget there. That just goes to show that, the role of leadership is really deep. And I don't know, I really thank him for that. And, setting that high standard. And, I want to take that standard with me. So, good night, peace, and this is it for Freedom and Truth. The truth shall set you free. Bye.